Hey, Dr. Karen here. And as I was falling asleep last night, it was like I was doing a Facebook Live about vaccines. And it was like all these things were floating in my head. And I was thinking this morning, I hope I remember everything that I said last night. Anyway, so there's been a lot of talk about vaccines. And in fact, a lot of my colleagues in the healing world don't even use the word vaccine. I'm a medical doctor. I'm allowed to use the word, apparently. So, they like the V word. Why? It's because it's getting censored in Google, YouTube, whatever. They don't like anti-vaxxers. In fact, I think one of the anti-vaxxers are called like Karen. So, and so people make fun of now my name, Karen. Not me specifically, but Karen. So what am I going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to give maybe a unique perspective as far as the vaccines go. It may not be what you want to hear. And is there going to be some spiritual woo stuff in this little Facebook Live? Absolutely. So if that's not for you, you can just shut it off. So we're going to take a look at, on the quantum level as well, what this is all about. So in case I'm going to get you caught up. So in case you're kind of not knowing what I'm talking about, one of the things that's come at least in the forefront in America is that there is a big push, including from conventional medicine and the government, to get a vaccine for COVID-19 as quickly as possible. And estimates are like, it's going to be 12 to 18 months. Other people say it's going to be in the fall. What's come as a concern from other camps other than traditional medical doctors and, they might have concerns as well, and the government is the possibility of a mandatory vaccine. So over the last year or so, a lot of the states in the U.S. have seen a quote-unquote stripping of their religious exemptions on vaccines. So unless they want to homeschool their children, parents actually are forced to get the vaccines for their children to go to school. So the controversy is around not necessarily just having a vaccine, but the mandatory nature of the vaccine. And, people want to know, am I pro, against, that kind of stuff. And I'm saying neither. Now, I know this might be shocking to some people. I'm neither pro-vaccine nor am I anti-vaccine. And let me explain why. We know that, and Lynn McTaggart, who's an amazing journalist, she's amazing books, amazing researcher, journalist with all these other like PhD, super bright, people in quantum physics and everything like that, did all these experiments and studies over the years, showing that our ability to attend and intend a certain outcome has changes that are almost like miraculous. That when, for example, we saw the Schumann resonance jump massively when we did that global meditation April 4th, we also saw that random event generators in the years past, when there was a huge event on Earth, especially an emotional event, that they are no longer random. They become coherent. They kind of like talk to each other. And Princess Diana, her death, that was one of those events. And 9/11 in the U.S. was one of those other events. So our minds, our feelings do affect the global mind, the global feeling, mass consciousness, if you will. So in Lynn's study, she used to have a platform. It was like it was called What Your Doctor Doesn't Know, right? And it was talking about all these things that your conventional doctor doesn't know, including myself many years ago, about health, about herbs, about all this kind of stuff, right? And you know what? She said she let that go. She let that whole platform go, and the reason was because they found that what people believe in, wholeheartedly believe in, that's the result they get. Now we call that the placebo effect or the nocebo effect. So the placebo effect is if you think something's going to help you, it's probably going to help you because your thoughts and emotions about that shifts your biology. That's Bruce Lipton's work, right? We call that epigenetics. Epi meaning above genetics. So your genetics don't dictate your health. Your environment dictates your health. How does your environment dictate your health? Because your environment actually sends the signals to your cells. The cells then get that signal to the DNA, and then the DNA either shows this gene or that gene off, and then, it's just a blueprint just sitting there, So it's very interesting. So if you believe that the vaccine, COVID-19 or whatever vaccine, is going to be helpful, okay, in your heart of hearts, you believe it's going to be helpful, you feel good, about it, it makes you feel safe, then likelihood, even if I know the anti-vaxxers are really concerned about, the ingredients in it, like, for example, Dr. Judy Mikovits has released a book recently, and she's been under fire because of her assertion that some of the mice lines, cell lines that they used to experiment on and everything like that, she actually found a retrovirus in mice, and these mice were used as vaccines. So she was concerned that millions of Americans or millions of people were infected with this retrovirus that may have been linked to chronic fatigue syndrome. Okay, but as typical for any sort of whistleblower, that at least the ones that I have read about and heard about, she got fired, discredited, yada 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 yada. Now, when I do a truth score on what she says in a YouTube video about what happened to her, I get a really high truth score. Snopes, on the other hand, who is discrediting her, I get a really low truth score. So that's really interesting. And Snopes, by the way, is not any sort of governmental agency. It's like a couple out in somewhere, that does their own research. So could they be biased? Yeah, they could be biased, absolutely, based on their own beliefs. And we're all biased based on our own beliefs, right? So if you are one of the people who are like, yeah, I can't wait for this vaccine, it's gonna be awesome, and I'm like, you know what, get it. Get it. The other people that are concerned about it, that maybe, they don't know, like, if it's really safe because it's not really truly tested, the people that like Dr. Tenpenny and Dr. Humphreys, who's done a lot, like so many papers they read, like I can't even compare, about vaccines and all that kind of stuff, that, have legitimate concerns because there's some stuff that's in vaccines that isn't probably going to be really that good for you. In the past, it used to be mercury, and it was even in our childhood vaccines, it was like multi-times bigger than the maximum allowable mercury for any adult was in childhood vaccines. And it took forever, it seemed, for the American Academy of Pediatrics to kind of just go, maybe we shouldn't put thimerosal in children's vaccines after all. But it took a while, like a little bit of a fight to have that happen. So so some of us are a little bit more concerned, like, hey, I don't want a mandatory vaccine because some of the ingredients they put in the old vaccines, not so happy. If Judy Mikovits is right, maybe they contaminated, like mouse-generated stuff, contaminated vaccines in the past with that. Like, how can I trust that company or these companies to do that? We know Big Pharma is all about the money. So then there's mistrust, right? So if you have that mistrust around that, I totally get why you would not want a vaccine. Of course, don't want to be forced to have a vaccine either. So I'm neither pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. I am pro-choice. And I hope that, I can maybe convince you to be pro-choice as well. So pro-choice means that you get sovereignty of your body and you get to make a decision. Now, some of the stats and things like that, unfortunately, there's a lot of conflicting data out there, and there is a concerted effort to, at least in my experience as a spiritual detective, so to speak, and light medicine doctor, to kind of like distract you, fear, get fear going. And what happens is like, it's a great way of manipulating people, unfortunately. So unless you have very excellent discernment, okay, and you yourself are very healthy or on that track to be really healthy, sometimes it can be really hard to make that decision. But I believe that choice is something that is every person's right. And when that choice, especially for your own physical autonomy, is taken away from you with the fear of, oh, you're going to infect someone else, then we're starting that blame game and things like that. And that's like us against them and, all that kind of fighting. It's really interesting because the powers that be just love it when we fight with each other. Yeah, they do. And you see this reflected in the media as well. You see this reflected in TV shows and movies. It just drives me nuts in the past. Like, so for example, like the Avengers, right? Love superhero movies, right? They had the Avengers Civil War. Like all the good guys, the two teams of good guys are fighting each other. That reflects what's going on in the real world. They're trying to pit good people against each other, where somebody else is puppeteering something else going on down here, right? And then there's this other film, it was DC Comics. You can tell I really like superhero films. Anyway, so there's like Batman versus Superman. I'm like, really? I mean, I watched it, but I mean, it was terrible. I just did not like it at all. I'm like, okay, so two good guys, you're going to convince each other that you're going to battle, and then like the bad guy gets away, right? Like, because you're so busy fighting each other. So we don't need to be fighting each other on Facebook. It is a ruse. It is like a magician's sleight of hand. So sovereignty is really, really important. Can data be manipulated in scientific studies? Absolutely it can. Absolutely can. And it has, unfortunately. When I watched the movie, The Marketing of Madness, that was my first literally, take the red pill kind of thing, blue pill, red pill. I think it's the red pill, right? That you get to know everything. Anyway, so so I watched that Marketing of Madness, and I was shocked, because it was an expose around psychiatric medications and psychiatrists. And I was like, you know what? It can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. My colleagues, psychiatrists, like I love them. They're my friends. It can't be that bad, right? And then when they came out with all the data and Congress and, famous psychiatrists, like putting their names on papers that they didn't even do. The drug company said, hey, I'll give you a couple $1 million and can we put your name on this paper? Sure. And the only reason it came out was because it was a tax evasion thing, right? So they caught the guy that's a psychiatrist doing that. And so this is like not uncommon, unfortunately, but it was like, whoa, eyes wide open for me, Dr. Karen Kan. Oh my gosh, I thought all my colleagues were totally like innocent and awesome and, all this kind of stuff. So that was really shocking for me. So since then, I've been, reading a lot of books, seeing a lot of, documentaries, and, interviewing these people, their opinions, their experts, checking up on some things. And then now I just realize everyone, I believe, has to make their own decision. So I'm pro-choice. Am I pro-mandatory vaccine? No, I'm not pro-mandatory vaccine. I do feel that some people, it is for their highest and greatest good to get the vaccine because they believe that is going to be good for them, right? And here's the problem. If you don't believe it's going to be good for you and it's mandatory vaccine, then you're in trouble. Then you've got to do something. Now, if we can elevate all of our consciousness, we can change the world like that, right? So that means that that mandatory vaccine thing is just going to disappear. But that requires each of us to take responsibility of our consciousness, so that we're not in fear, so that we're not in freak out mode or fight mode, so that we're in peace and joy, regardless of what happens on the earth. You're just in a meat suit on the planet in this incarnation. Okay, this is not it. You keep living, you live later. So, you know what I mean? So, do I hope that there was no mandatory vaccination? Yeah, I believe that people need a choice and people should have sovereignty, of their body. And at the same time, if it happened that was, what is happening, mandatory vaccinations, and you are against it, you got to do something, right? Now, you might not be able to, 80% of Americans have guns, right? Are you going to stand at your door with a gun so they don't vaccinate you? I don't know. Maybe you will. I don't know. On the other hand, what can you do? Okay, in the worst case scenario, you don't have a business, home, self-sustaining model, right? So if you do, you're living in a homestead, you have electricity from, solar panels or wind generators, whatever, you grow your own food, right? And you have money coming in because you have some sort of, business model that doesn't require face-to-face interaction or whatever, right? So for you guys, yeah, you could sit at home and go, well, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, right? And that is awesome. That is really awesome. On the other hand, if you're like most other conscious people, you have a job to go to, your kids go to school, like you have other stuff. You're like, oh my gosh, what'll happen? So if that's a worst case scenario, what you do is you go into that state of being, and guess what? Your frequency can be so high that it doesn't matter what's in the vaccine. It doesn't matter. Now you have to be that, but it takes training, okay? It takes training. That's some of the stuff that we do with our students. But you can be at that place where you can change the channel on the vaccine. In other words, you can love it. I know that sounds ridiculous, right? Okay, I just hated this vaccine. I don't want all this shit in my body, excuse my language. And you're telling me to love this vaccine? And I'm like, yes, I'm telling you to love the vaccine. If that comes to pass, that there's a mandatory vaccine, right? Literally, with your being state, with that love state, you can shift the frequency of that vaccine so it does no harm in your body or the body of your children. Cool or cool. Now, we have tools for that, right? Various different tools that if you're in my classes, you already know about, so I'm not even going to mention it. But that is what is possible. That is the kind of power that you have. And maybe you don't hear about that every day, but that's the kind of power you have. So you don't need to worry. You don't need to worry. And, like I said, worst case scenario, if there's a mandatory vaccination or whatever, those of us in our jobs in light medicine and, the energy healers, whatever, just know that we will be doing whatever we can globally to make that difference, to minimize the impact on you and your family, your loved ones, etc. But you have to help us, okay? If you do meditation or prayer, you're in that space of stillness, you are resonating that frequency of calm and love more times than the other freak out modes or sad mode or fear mode or whatever, then that's going to make our job a heck of a lot easier because we can reach a lot more people that way in a positive way. So that's my soapbox for today. Talking about vaccination. Just want to thank you for listening in. I just want to say hi to folks. Hi, Kim, Keith, Linda, Veronica. Nandi says, in countries like ours is where they get their power in billions as the masses have just accepted, followed, believing that they are being helped. I know. I'm so sad for many parts of the world that have been duped, unfortunately, and all, let's give you free stuff. Unfortunately, the free stuff, it's not free. And yeah, I think there's a lot of, there's a lot I don't know. There's a lot of things that I can now actually contain, that kind of, scary, if you will, news about what's happening to different parts of the world and the various different organizations. And just so you know that once I know of a name of someone who is in that space of power, we want to bless and heal and send love and put a transmutational bubble around them, whatever it takes, right, to help all the world. So just want to let you know that we're on it. We're working on it for you. So thank you. Hi, Linda. Hi, Diane. Hi, Paige. Hi, Gary. Hi, Han. Hi, Penelope. Hi, oh boy, I can't pronounce Moliliv. Moliliv. Linda. Hey, Stella. Oh boy, I can't read that one either. Hey, Trevor. Hey, Kat. Hey, Jenna. Do you guys have any questions? Hey, Laura. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Rose. Hey, Steven. Hey, Sabine. Robin. Lillian. Marianne, and I apologize if I can't pronounce your name because it's written in Arabic or another language I don't read, sorry. Hi, Rita. Hi, Deanna. Mary, Michelle, Dave, Deborah, Misty. Awesome. So great to see you. So again, just to review everything we've done is that it's super important for you to manage your own state. Because whether or not, this super amazing supposedly vaccine comes out later on this year or 12 months from now, 18 months from now, whether you are pro getting it or against getting it, I think it's really important to manage your state so you get the best outcome possible. So just because something looks like it could be negative or terrible, whatever, it doesn't mean that it's going to be for you. So anyway, so if you find that this video is helpful and supportive for you, please share with like-minded people. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow I am actually doing a launch on From Heartache to Joy. So I can put that link down there. It's in the comments. It's From Heartache, so it's FHTJOY, so From Heartache to Joy. .com/Karen20, and it's the relaunch of my autoimmune healing secrets program. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing a live masterclass. We're going to do mini healings and readings on people. I'm going to share the 6 different kinds of autoimmunity types that I have discovered, as well as some of the stuff we did on last week's Divine Design training, how to check your 3 most important immune systems when it comes to the pandemic, COVID-19, and infections. So we're going to do some checkups for people then, and we're actually going to be doing a cell membrane magic healing activation for everyone that's on the call. So please join us. It's going to be 11 a.m. tomorrow Eastern for the Autoimmune Healing Secrets interview. And Gretchen is going to be helping me with that. I'm going to do a self-hosted call, which I love to do, and love to take your questions and do some mini healings and readings for you. All right, have a nice day. Bye.